After so long of people waiting and hoping for something new to come to Mordhau, finally we've had it. There's been so many complaints of Mordhau's player base dropping off, people complaining that the game is dead, and whilst that's not really all that true, in fact I made a full video discussing that, go and check it out. What people are correct in saying is that there has been a major lack of content, and it's been a massive talking point and complaint point for so many of its players. People dropped off and they've never really come back until now, because this new update perhaps is Mordhau's biggest, and so far I can say it's one of its best. This is Mordhau Eastern Invasion. As a quick overview, the main attraction is Noria, the new invasion/frontline mode. There's a ton of new customization with new armor, hairstyles, beards, and of course a load of Eastern themed cosmetics, and a beautiful new weapon, the Scimitar. But we're going to look incredibly in depth, and then later this week I'm going to show you some videos dedicated towards the certain game modes and maps that have been brought out. So let's talk about Noria, because this is sort of the main centerpiece here. Noria is a beautiful eastern town. It's added for invasion, frontline, free-for-all, team deathmatch, skirmish mode, and horde mode. I'll get into horde mode a little bit later because there's some special things with that as well. It goes from the small eastern town all the way up to a big temple where you can defend, especially on the invasion modes, going through the different tiers and levels in this more linear style of battle. Defending catapults, defending the gates, and then holding the line as the enemy try and batter down the door to the room where your nobles lie. It is a beautiful map, and I think it perhaps is one of the biggest. Especially on the overview, you can see how large Noria really is, and you get that sense as you're playing it. But it isn't the only new map. Core Tile is also in there, however, it is much smaller. It's not really based around the bigger maps, it's more just for free-for-all, team deathmatch, skirmish, duel, and team fight. Okay, it's very much a smaller map for the competitive players, which I think a lot of people will be interested in, but if you're a more casual Mordhau fan, Core Tile is not one that you're going to be able to look at all that much. It looks great, it looks cool, but it's a much smaller map on the scale of things. Let's talk a little bit about the new weapon though, the Scimitar. Now it's an interesting one. Everyone knows what Scimitars is, a one-handed, fast-slashing saber. It does wonders on the battlefield, not necessarily against heavily armored folk, but against the lighter armored folk, and of course, getting that upper hand being the slicker and more skirmish-type unit, you're going to be wanting to use this Scimitar. But I've heard many complaints. A bit like when Mordhau initially released, the rapier was the go-to for the fast skirmish-style troops. Being able to slip and slide everywhere, dodging and strafing, getting those really annoying stabs in there, you're going to be doing a lot of the same stuff with the Scimitar. Of course, not using the thrust attack quite as much since it is a slashing weapon. It is very powerful, and I just saw complaint after complaint after complaint. Look, it's cool. I'm glad they've added it in, but I can tell it's going to need a lot of balancing. Yeah, this is kind of what happens with all these new updates. There's also 2 full new sets of armor, and they look goddamn beautiful. I have to say, this is perhaps one of my favorite armor additions we've had, full stop. Whilst this isn't in the free update, this is an additional DLC. Some people might not be happy with that. It has to be paid extra. It's £4 for each of these 2 armor sets. The first one, the Grotesque set, is inspired by real Milanese artists from the Italian Renaissance. The package includes the new armor and a 2-handed mace, and it looks fantastic. As I was playing on the new Noria map, I saw people wandering around using this. They looked goddamn badass. It's just a shame that it's been been put behind a paywall. Additionally, you have the Mordhau lion set, once again about £4, and it has a beautiful new piece of armor, not really as cool as the first, but you also get a trident. It's kind of cool, mostly good at throwing at people's heads, but once again, it's a cool DLC, but unfortunately, it is behind a paywall. So let's talk about the free stuff. So we got the Scimitar, we got the new maps, we also have a revamped Horde Mode. I think this is where most of the value comes in with the new update. I'm going to be bringing out a full video talking about every little bit, tips and tricks, an ultimate guide to Mordhau's new revamped Horde Mode. It is beautiful. You have a new noble to defend, who all, of course, the AI are trying to target. You have new powers and abilities, from teleporting to going invisible to being an invincible soldier, even as a bowman, getting fire arrows, being able to split your arrows into multiple shots. It's goddamn awesome. I like how they've kind of pushed it away from the realistic medieval side and just gone, hey, Horde Mode is for fun. Let's make it that. The new skills and abilities absolutely make it. There's so many different options and routes that you can go down, whether you want to be a support troop, a tank, a fast infantryman, or even a bowman. There's everything is there and changed. There's also this cool little guy, the little goblin, who you can trade back your weapons with. It was always an issue where you'd buy something and you were kind of stuck with it unless you dropped it on the floor. Now you can trade back, sell that weapon for, granted, a slightly lower price, and get something else instead. The Horde Mode on Noria is something that I played quite a lot of. It's using just a small segment of the map, nothing even close to the size of Noria's invasion game mode map, but hey, it's still a lot of fun. I think the pacing overall of the Horde Mode is way better. That's something that they have stated that they've changed. They've not really said exactly what they've done to improve that pacing, but I think things like having the abilities and of course having the noble, who's sort of a person you have to defend, really helps improve the gameplay or the game loop of that game mode. It does feel a little bit harder, but now you have their new abilities and skills, you can counter them very well. Additionally, having skills like with every hit you gain a bit of health, or you can even heal allies, or even with the archer, when you hit with your arrow, there's a chance that you're going to regenerate a new arrow, and you'll of course top up your ammo. These cool things really encourage players to get stuck in, to not camp and really try their best. Additionally, players can now be revived in Horde Mode, so even if you go down, people can come over, pick you up. It doesn't take all that long, and of course there are support classes and skills that can help speed up that process, give you health, and so on. Because of this, players are way more eager to get stuck in, whether it's teleporting into the midst of everybody and calling down an arrow storm from above. It is a beautiful sight to see, and because you can be revived if you go down, people are more than willing to get you back up and then get back on into the fighting. It really improves the pacing, and I think whilst games go on for a little bit longer, I think it's a bit more even with the difficulty depending on how many players are on the battlefield. The Horde Mode is definitely the centerpiece for this new update, along with the new map Noria. They work hand in hand brilliantly. Now, there are a few smaller new things that have been added in behind the scenes. The game has now been upgraded to Unreal Engine 4.26. Nothing that you'll really notice while you're playing, but now you can no longer select a team to join. That might annoy some people, but it does ensure more balanced teams. However, party members will still be grouped together, but then it puts on the end of that whenever possible. That kind of worries me, because it could end up being really annoying if you're entering a game where it is so close on each team and then you're split apart from your friend, and it kind of makes it pointless for actually playing with your friend. That's kind of just something that we're going to have to see balanced as time goes on. Of course, whilst there are paid DLCs with full armor sets, there are smaller stuff that has been added in. The Nubian character has new hair, beards, and eyebrows. You have skull caps, great helms, nasal helmets. Of course, there are the Sultan set, the Sultan tunic. There are so many free things that came with this update along with that DLC set, so don't worry, if you're into the cosmetic stuff, you can get a lot of this stuff free as well. But this is a massive update, perhaps one of the biggest. There are so many more fixes and bug patches that have been put in with the new Eastern Invasion patch, and I can't wait to test them all out. But click the link in the description if you want to go and see the full changelog. Of course, I'm not going to go through it. There's so much to talk about. I just want to go over the most important highlight parts. But subscribe to the channel to see my full in-depth video on the Horde Mode and of course the new Noria map. But until then, I will see you in the next one.